Hey everybody. Hey, it's your boy H. They call me H Hendrix because I like to rock the mic. But it's another episode of SG Podcast. And I'm with my main man, I'm with my big bro, mentor, one of my favorite people in the world, man. Honestly, he was there when I was born, and I appreciate him for being there. He's my
Yeah.
big brother. And I'm just happy to be on there. If you see me smiling a lot, it's because I just love this guy, man. He's one of I just love him.
Oh, okay. All
My
right.
dude. That's my dude. And so on tonight, we got as I said, my big brother, a mentor, not only to me but to a lot of people. He's a minister of the word. He's one of the
Yes.
guys with great advice. He's actually the minister of a Brownsville Church of Christ down in Miami, Florida, where I was born and raised.
Yeah.
He's a congregation there. But not only that, he's an author. And then a lot of people I think don't know a lot of things about him. Maybe they know enough. They see the surface, but he's a comedian too, man. He can keep you laughing, keep
No,
you.
no. Comedian.
And not
Okay.
only that, he's very intellectual, and also, I mean, we're gonna get into a couple of things as far as him being an author, also. But
Okay.
one of the things I want to jump and dive into here with you, man, and I just want to thank you for being here with us. Is just a lot of people don't know. They know that a lot of people see you on say YouTube. They see you there expounding on the word, preaching, a lot of other stuff, but they didn't know that you necessarily was a sports guy. That they may
Of
see you that
sports.
you
Yeah.
rep a couple of sports, but they didn't know that you played sports. They didn't know that maybe you dunked. They didn't know that you caught an interception or that you tackled a few people or you just scored a touchdown. But so we're just gonna kind of start into that. Like, tell us a little bit, like, what kind of back in the days. I know you was one of the guys that taught me how to shoot a shot, taught me how to come up with the Oreo play in the background in the backyard that we used to play. But kind of like, what inspired you to kind of get in sports when you was younger? Like, what kind of got you to that point at first?
Well, I thank you for letting me come on to the podcast. Hear a lot of good things about it, and we appreciate the opportunity to be here on the day. I love you as well, and hope we continue to grow in every aspect of life. I think one of the things, I guess, in terms of sports is concerned, I think it's just a matter of lacking the atmosphere of team, atmosphere of competitiveness, just kind of being able to learn different things from like sporting events and being a part of different things as it relates to playing for people and trying to engage in activity. Some of my favorite sports growing up are basketball, football. Had the opportunity to play a little bit of football as a probably like a young man. Played for a team called North Day Bulldogs, as well as Northside Panthers.
Uh-huh.
That was the first team I played for, and then I was able to go to North Day, which is in Miami, Florida, and just kind of was always a good thing just to be a part of that. I learned a lot of lessons from a lot of good coaches, and then also played some basketball in the home in the community where I lived in Carroll City, or more specifically, an area called Murder Grove. And so I think from all of those things and being part of summer programs, that played a huge part in just loving sports, learning about sports, and just kind of feeling good about being a part of a team.
Absolutely. Okay. And that's it. And that's phenomenal, man. And so, like, back in the days, I know that you what position did you play like
Yeah.
now basketball is more like positionless, but what did you say call yourself as a basketball player?
Okay. So yeah, sure. So basketball, I was probably more so what they may call small forward. Sometimes like a shooting guard, but growing up, I kind of was one of those guys that was at some point in time a little bit taller. So when that happens, when a person is growing up, they always put you at like right by the basket, which is kind of the center. But I
Uh-huh.
always prescribe to a small forward, which is right in the middle between a shooting guard and a power forward. Someone that's not necessarily the main ball handler, but they can kind of handle the ball a little bit, and then they can shoot it a little bit as well. So that's the position I typically played growing up in the community and just on different teams.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's what's up. That's what's up. Yep.
Yep.
And so you always were like that tall guy. Did you think you stopped your growth spurt around what, like 16,
Um.
17? You think you
Well,
stopped?
I guess I'll probably say about I'll go with about 18.
By 18,
And by
okay.
18 is where I probably reached to how tall I was going to be. At least that's the way I think. Even though sometimes these days people come to me and say, "Oh, are you taller?" And I'm saying, no, I don't think I can't be getting taller. That'll be against kind of like what is natural. But
Because
yeah,
most people
I think
stop
about
growing around
18
like
years
I
old.
think man, we stopped growing around about like 23, 24. I don't think we have many spurts after that. I don't think like it's
Yeah, I don't think so. I know growing up in elementary, people typically, young ladies normally kind of go faster than guys, and then the guy catch up. But for me, I probably say about 18 years old, maybe I was about where I was going to be, I think.
around that time. Okay, that's for sure.
Yeah, about 6'2". I think I hit six. Well, not 6'3". That was the one that I got measured a couple of times at 6'3". Now when I go, they say about 6'2.5". So I don't know.
You done lost half an inch, or maybe you
Maybe it
had
could
on.
be the way that I sit. Maybe I'm not standing straight enough. I don't know. They always say you get to the height and then you start maybe getting shorter. I'm not even sure.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And so I know like you've been the tallest guy like as a young age, and so you kind of took on basketball. And was like football like an automatic thing, or was just kind of like something? Because
Man,
I know growing up, we kind of like went to Myrtle Grove Park, and that was like we played basketball or football. Was that like which one was your first love, basketball or like was it football?
so I think the summer programs in the neighborhood called Myrtle Grove Park, during the summertime, they had a plethora of sports, which kind of exposed me to some things I probably didn't know because of, like I said, different coaches. But I think initially I played football, but then I always kind of gravitated towards basketball, and that always was kind of like those two. But at some point in time, I would say by the age of 13, 14, I started like kind of gleaning more towards playing basketball and putting more focus on that. Even though I stopped playing like team football at the age of 16. Yeah, 16 is when my last time I was on a football team. And that was, but I just played that time because it just was trying to stay part of a team. But my first was football, but then I started gravitating towards basketball about age 14 years old.
About 14. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Hmm.
And one thing I remember growing up is that I don't know when you got this nickname, but they kind of called you Smooth because they always thought you was going in slow motion, but always had like what they call fundamentals. Is
Yeah,
what
yeah. I don't
you
know.
had
I
on.
think it could have been self-proclaimed name and people just kind of jumped on it. But I think that's what I was talking about. It wasn't going that fast, and I think it was a little spin move I used to do that people kind of categorized it that, so they just called my whole repertoire a smooth thing and all that kind of stuff. But that was probably just one move, but then it just kind of went with it. And that was just a select few that said that. But it is what it is. It wasn't a long time, but
Yeah, yeah.
but people called it because like a spin thing I was doing, like a spin move, so they kind of put it at
Oh,
capacity.
okay.
That's
Yeah.
what I think. I think so. Yeah.
And so I know if I remember correctly, growing up, one of your favorite teams was the Seattle Sonics, right? And you were like a Gary Payton fan. That was your favorite team growing up? Did you like the Sonics?
Yeah, you got it right on the head. Yeah, growing up, I was Seattle Supersonics. For some reason or another, I always liked Gary Payton in the beginning. I guess it's because of he was always kind of confrontational, and that was like an alter ego of mine. I wanted to be kind of like a dog or confrontational on the basketball court. And then I liked the other players that was on the team, like Detlef Shrimp, Hershey Hawkins, Sam Perkins,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Gary. Was it Gary Anthony or something like that, and it was just different people that I liked on the team. Just generally speaking, I wish I could have still been cheering for them, but at some point in time, they ended up selling the team to Oklahoma Thunder, and then I kind of went towards another team after that. But yeah, it's just and then I also like the shoes, so I probably played a part as well. Gary Payton had some Nikes
Yeah.
that he had out, and I really liked those, and that played a part in me kind of liking the whole team as well.
Oh, that part. Okay, which is good. But then, if then you kind of like put your at the KG like Kevin Garnett, was he kind of like one, or was that like somebody
Yeah,
that you?
Kevin Garnett was another player that I really liked. He was a slim guy. He wasn't necessarily a point guard. He wasn't a center, and that was kind of like part of some moves I used to watch him do. I was trying to duplicate them or emulate them. so I can do it when I'm on the basketball court at the parks and stuff. So Kevin Garnett was one of my favorite players, and he still is. Although he's retired and stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
he's one of the few, like Gary Payton and Kevin Garnett, probably the top two of my favorite outside of Magic Johnson.
And so, which is cool, man, because I remember like reflecting on it, seeing you like, yeah, I'm the glove. I remember these things like growing up was super, super nice and kind of got you in that. But if you had to reflect and look back in that age frame, so say for maybe high school under, because I remember you paid for Carol City High School and like other little things from there. I was wondering, like, what do you feel like was your biggest accomplishment through that age frame, like from maybe 10 to 18, being in high school? Like, what do you have something that you think about? With like, man, what is one of my biggest accomplishments at that point in my period of my life?
Yeah, well, I think when I think about it, that's a great question. I think my accomplishment probably doesn't have anything to do with sports. I think it was very important to me that I didn't go to prison. I didn't get arrested because obviously people around you sometimes strayed away. So that
Mm-hmm.
was a very thing when I began to kind of in retrospect think about it. That was something that I kind of hold dear that I didn't get caught up with that. Um, so I guess sports also played a part in allowing that to happen
Mm-hmm.
because people oftentimes say idle mind can become a devil's workshop.
Yeah.
So that's actually something that I really think about sometimes in terms of not getting kind of caught up in that capacity because I don't know if I would have been able to do certain things that I have done already.
Cool. And so that's actually pretty good. So so one of the things that you think, like say for even our youth nowadays, is that like say organized sports is something that kind of like keep a mind busy to help them kind of stay straight from like wondering what else they could do or being a
Yeah,
part of a lot of things.
yeah, no doubt. But I think now when I was kind of growing up, and I'm only 38, even though my birthday will be next week.
Yeah, man.
I think that what happened is that a lot of people, let's say, they were doing negative things. When someone like myself was around them, they kind of guarded me away from that
Mm-hmm.
because they wanted to kind of focus on sports. But I think the youth today have a challenge, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
because some of them often try to do both, and no one is necessarily telling them don't focus on sports. You're trying to get your family out of this area, and so it could be a difficult thing. But I think I was blessed to catch the tail end of that, where I was able to see people do maybe not the best things from drugs and guns and stuff like that. I was able to kind of see it but not see it,
Mm-hmm.
and people were able to keep me shunned away from it and not get too involved in it because they recognized that that wasn't really the lifestyle I was living.
Yeah, true. Which was good, man, and that comes from having like positive people around you, people understanding where your mission is at, and they see like, nah,
Yeah,
I'll take care of the blame. You this and that, which is good. I mean, you circle yourself around
correct.
positive
Yeah,
people, or maybe you were just the positive light upon those people that were trying to do other things. They're like, nah, I can't bring this guy among in that thing.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's exactly what was going on, and I
Mm-hmm.
was never really involved with too much stuff because, like I say, sports kept me busy. Little league, playing for different basketball teams. They had a thing called Hoop It Up at one time.
Yeah.
I was part of that. Had some most of the people I hung out with was going to play sports and stuff like that. And then, just in addition, your parents play a huge part as well. But I think even with that, the person got to just make a decision, what they want to do. Because the parents can only kind of give a certain amount of guidance. At some point in time, you're gonna do what you want to do. So that was helpful to me as well. But I'm grateful for like the ability to be able to have played and been a part of different sports teams because it translate or transfers to life.
Mm-hmm.
You recognize, you fall down, but you got to get up. You kind of recognize there. It doesn't just take one person to make everything go. Everybody has their part. Sports taught me that at the end of the day, it's not about how you start; it's how you finish. So it's a lot of lessons that I learned to transfer over to life and just professionalism that sports taught me.
And that's great. And I mean, that's actually I was around sports. You was around sports. I've seen a lot of it. And I know earlier you made a little small statement. You're saying that used to be your team in Seattle Sonics, Supersonic,
Mm-hmm.
and now you transition to more like uh a Boston Celtics fan, right? Am I right?
Correct. Yeah, and that's primarily because what you mentioned earlier, Kevin Garnett.
Oh, okay.
So he's the main reason. That was why I went that way. It wasn't necessarily because I'm in love with the place of Boston. It's because he matriculated there from the Minnesota Timberwolves, and
Mm-hmm.
then from there, I just kind of cheered for them. And even though he retired, I just say, yeah, I'm just stay with them. Cause I'm not really like a jump this team, that team. I've never been like that. So even though he left the team, he's still kind of connected. They retired his jersey, I think, about a year ago.
Yeah, about a year ago.
But I'm still cheer for him because there's still players on the team I can respect and I can cheer for. So that's where I am now. Yep. Because I can't, like I said, we can't cheer for Seattle SuperSonics because they don't exist.
Well, you could have been the Oklahoma City Thunder fan.
Yeah, I never really could get hit with that. Especially I didn't really like the color of the jerseys and the team. I ain't really like that setup. So even
So
though the team moved, I didn't move with them.
you ain't move.
Nah, man, I didn't move with them.
You take that leap. You got faith, but
No.
you had that one and now you're like, nah, that's okay. I just go about some better results.
Yeah. I just went my second favorite player. My Gary Payton went to the Miami Heat, but I didn't like follow him because I know he was on the last year and he did win a championship, so I was very happy about that.
Uh-huh.
And Kevin Garnett won the championship as well, so interesting enough, both players that I really like were able to get a championship.
Yeah, they had Paul Pierce, they had Ray Allen, they had I think Antoine Walker, they had
Big Baby.
Big Baby. Yep, they had the whole big. That's the original Big Three.
Yeah, that's what they say. Yeah, Ray Allen.
Yep. They said they had the original big there. But then also your favorite football team is the San Francisco 49ers, right?
Yeah. I actually have on a T-shirt for the 49ers right now because I know it's a sports show, so I wanted to kind of be appropriate. So yeah, that's my favorite team since I was growing up. I would probably say because obviously most people would say that was the team of the 80s, and I was born with 83. So and then also I was fortunate that kind of have enough memory that they actually came to the Super Bowl when they hosted in Miami. That's when we had Deion Sanders on the team. Wow. So that was even just more gas to my fire for us cheering for that team. So that's been my team for a long time since people like Amp Lee, obviously Jerry Rice, John Taylor, Joe Montana, William Floyd. You had people like that. You had Brent Young, and just all over the place. You had all kind of people there. So I'm a 49 fan. Even now, I got a couple of things for them. I wear shirts and scarves and stuff like that. So that's my favorite team.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, I mean, I brought those two things up to say, man, you had a really good year in sports within, I say, the 21-22 season. And so it seemed like you made it to the cliff, but you didn't get it to the top, man. You made it like you didn't make it to the peak. Like you the guy that's right. You made it up there, but you just couldn't get there, man.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I was thinking about that the other day. We 49ers, they almost made it to the Super Bowl, almost. And then obviously the Celtics, they made it, but they lost. So that was always an interesting thing. But got to keep pressing. I know there's some things going on in the NBA right now.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It's free agency and drafting. So see where the chips fall because there's going to be some major moves I see.
Yeah, it is. It is. Do you want like one of the biggest things I guess named right now is Kevin Durant? Would you like him to come over to the Celtics? Because Kyrie Irving already been there. So I mean, would you take a chance for that? Trade like Jason Tatum away or Jaylen Brown for him? Would you do that replacement?
Yeah, I'd trade. Well, Jason Tatum, I think he's a rising star. He's not. Oh, he's younger. And considering the fact that the Celtics actually did eliminate the Brooklyn Nets in the playoffs, but I think if you're just trying to go all in, I would say get Kevin Garnett. I mean, get Kevin Durant. Yeah, but Tatum and I don't know. We have to see if that's. But I don't think that's something that he's going to do. I think they're trying to do a package deal, which I don't think is a good idea because a lot of people are not necessarily high on Kevin Garnett. So.
Okay. which is a lot of people not high on say Kevin Durant, and it's actually I've been listening to a little bit of sports and I've been on it, and so they kind of like looking down on the Nets, kind of say, oh man, he only going to his fourth team, Kevin Durant. Oh man, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I'm a Spurs fan. I happen to be a Spurs fan through
Yeah.
association. They was going through a dynasty. I guess at the time when I was kind of growing. Well, I'm not too far from, but at that point, they was going through a dynasty, which was good. And then also, I also liked, I'm a Cowboys fan. And I don't know how you skip the Cowboys being the '80s, baby, because that's when the Cowboys was at their prime, man.
No, it was at their prime in the 90s.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had the '90s, but the '80s was good too, man.
No, yeah, the 49ers was the 49ers got about 4 championships.
Yeah, you got four. You do have four.
I don't think the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys they had Tom Landry, but
yeah,
when Jimmy Johnson came,
that's when we got a little better.
Traded Herschel Walker for Emmitt Smith and all them, but yeah, I guess the Cowboys I never was on my radar. I know a lot of people like the Cowboys. They say that's America's team. So.
Yeah,
I plan to go to. Hopefully, I can plan to go to a 49ers game coming up this year. It's going to be in Atlanta. They're going to play Atlanta Falcons. So hopefully, try to set something up where I can go at least check that out.
Hopefully, y'all don't blow them out too bad. The Falcons haven't looked good since they became a dirty bird.
Yeah, I don't know.
they haven't been good, man. They blew a Super Bowl where Matty Ice left. I guess they rebuild it. So hopefully it's a competitive game. Hopefully,
we'll see what happens.
With the Cowboys playing the 49ers, that's the game I want to. If we get on your schedule, I want to see.
I don't know if it's playing each other, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. And so I'm gonna transition to something else, man. And I know one of the things that the actual say the slogan of this show is really like winning at the sport of business. And so I know you've been a winner in a lot of different things that you have done. And so I wanted to know, like, what basically you being part of sports, basically having a sports mentality or saying having a sports background, how did that matriculate or how did that go into like saying you becoming an author in terms of like writing a book and things like that? Or tell me what made you become an author? That'd be good.
Well, I guess to become an author, I think a lot of people, me growing up, have poured into me, given me a lot of good advice. And I've always been a listener. And I try my best to glean from people that I think has good wisdom. So I've been able to receive that, and I try to keep it in my mind, my spirit, my soul. And so then I recognized, to be very transparent with you, a lot of people was telling me things like, hey, do this, do that. And I kept telling them, hey, I already know about this, I know about that. And so I have 2 books I wrote, but the first book I wrote called The Wisdom Journey, I kind of wrote it to really just let the people that keep telling me, hey, do this, do that, and say, hey, I already know to do that. That was really my main purpose. But the other end of the spectrum was for me to create something for other gentlemen or ladies to get some principles that typically don't really happen anymore or not given anymore because mentorship is not necessarily as, in my opinion, as strong as it used to be. So that's one of the reasons why I started writing, or I wrote that particular book, because I wanted to sow into other people. And then the hope is to still do this, and that is to use it as a foundation for a conference or a summit where it'll be like mentorship. But it'll be like the foundational piece of it, saying this is coming from this. So it's like a beginning of something that I think could be bigger. But that was my reason for being an artist, simply to be transparent, is just so I can let those that kept telling me different things to do, that, hey, I know to do this already.
Oh, okay. And which is really good. I got a chance to read The Wisdom Journey. I read Knowing Your Purpose. But I wanted to get into the Wisdom Journey. Like, so initially that kind of tells like your life journey, like what the information that you got, say mentorship, some people that inspired you throughout your life. You kind of put it into paper that other people could read about. It kind of tells about your personal story, about say friends, family. One of the big influence that we both have in our life is our granddad, which is Robert Hope, right?
Correct. Yeah.
He was a big impact, and it details a lot of like advice that he given, or say you got from your mom, or you might have got from say godparents or other people. Um, what kind of response have you gotten to that? And like, tell me, um, what why was that your first book?
Yeah, I think yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's definitely was a great mentor and great encourager to us. To answer your question, I think uh, I always wanted to make sure that I can always leave a legacy. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's important that we, if we can, try to help people to avoid the pitfalls that other people have fallen into. And
Mm-hmm.
I think part of that is the reason why the wisdom journey, from what I've heard, has gotten some great responses from a lot of different circles, not
Oh,
just from a clergy or Christianity or theological circles, but also from like professional as well as just the casual reader circles, because they've communicated to me that it allows them to be able to kind of see some things and be watchful for some things that they may have not been able to be watchful for, because no one necessarily told them. And so that is the wisdom journey, is to help people to not have to fall into pitfalls that people have fell into before.
mm-hmm.
So it's, just kind of give them some advice about it. And I've gotten some good feedback about it. I had the opportunity for maybe like 3 weeks when it first came out to be like number one on Amazon, and
Wow,
that was pretty
congratulations.
good. Obviously, well, not obviously, but it's not number one now. But for like 3 weeks, it was number one in new releases in the category where it was, which was uh, Christian literature. And
Mm-hmm.
then the other, then I've been to churches and did a book tour, and there
Mm-hmm.
was some good feedback on that as well. Um, and that's really been very helpful to me. And I think that I think it's just important to make sure that if we know some things, particularly in the generation that we live in,
Mm-hmm.
that we make sure that we impart it to others, because so many times we live in a society where people are not necessarily willing to give up information, but because maybe they're afraid or think somebody's going to overcome them because they got information. But I think it's important for that to happen. That's one of the reasons why that book was written. I think that's why I got good feedback from it.
Oh, for sure.
People still
Absolutely.
buying it today.
Yeah, still buying it. Okay. And so you've seen, based off of that, say your art, like your author, you writing it, it has been outside of just the circle of say just maybe churches or things like that. You've seen other
Yeah.
people buy, like as far as like say some
Uh,
things that help build other things up for other people.
yeah. Yeah. I've seen other people build that. There's a thought inside the book that conveys the idea. Says expose your children to the world. And for example, that is one of the things.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, that don't necessarily have to do anything with the Bible. It's just trying to communicate to the reader that it's imperative for you to expose your child to see different things. And I use in that context of that chapter that I had the opportunity, as well as you, to go to different places throughout maybe the United States, and maybe, yeah, about the United States, just to see people eat different things, people dress different, people don't all talk the same way. But obviously there are some people that, and I've heard this before, where they are literally living in one space, only know one way. They
Mm-hmm.
don't. They have not had the opportunity to travel. Even, let's say, for example, they live in Miami, but they have never even went past, um, let's say, Fort Lauderdale,
Wow.
and so they just have that concept. So it kind of encourages parents and others, hey, let your children see things, because they need to know that, um, there are some black CEOs,
Mm-hmm.
there are some black pilots. You
Yeah.
need to know people own businesses. I remember when I first flew to flew into Atlanta, and I got off of the plane. When I first did this, I was very flabbergasted, because I was like, wow, everybody seemed to be African American, from the stewardess to the man is cleaning the floor to the person doing security, and that was very encouraging. And I don't think I would have seen that if I didn't, go out and expose myself. And that's just one example, but that's one of the things we wanted to say as well.
That is really good because exposure gives you more knowledge. You know what I'm saying? It gives you like, hey, listen, I'm not just in this surrounding. One of the things I took out of the book too that I remember is that always keep a dollar in your pocket because you never know what you're gonna need it for, or different things like that. You always got to keep a little change in your pocket because you may never know when you need to get home or something like
Yeah,
that.
what a tough lesson. Yeah, what a tough lesson that even though I knew that I had to learn that lesson at least one time,
Mm-hmm.
because you can't always assume that people are going to give something to you. Sometimes people are going to just try to take advantage of your gift. So I've learned to do the best I can to value myself,
Mm-hmm.
not in the arrogant way at all, but to recognize that I have value and that I have a gift, whatever that is, and even though I may give it freely, it costs the freight. The gift is free, but you got to pay for the freight.
Yeah.
So the point of the matter is that at the end of the day, some people are not going to think that way. So you still got to always be prepared for when people are not as considerate, like you just mentioned. Have whatever in your pocket to get back home, or at least have a resource,
Yeah.
because everybody may not care as much as you want them to care for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so in the book, it gives a lot of details, a lot of good nuggets. I know we just gave the a little gist of it, but going into
Okay.
like your next book, what kind of led you into getting into knowing your purpose? Like what kind of
Yeah.
got you
What
into that
wow. So this book was actually written during the pandemic. I was listening to a motivational speaker yesterday, and he actually kind of mentioned about something that he says, God, shut us down. We all in the house
one? Mm-hmm.
2 years and a half, and then he started saying things like, you had the recipe and you didn't work on it. You had the book in your mind, you didn't write it. Or he mentioned about you had a business plan, but you didn't push forward with it. And so I wrote this book, Know Your Purpose, literally during the pandemic. And the reason I wrote it is because as a preacher, as a minister, I oftentimes, a lot of times, hear people always asking me, how do I know my purpose?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know my purpose. What am I supposed to do? I don't know why I'm here. And that was something that happened often, and particularly where I am, because we have younger people growing up, and that's one of the main things they trying to figure out, what am I supposed to do? And so I kind of had to meditate, pray, fast, and that was one of the things that I wanted to communicate, to say, hey, this is the starting point
Mm-hmm.
of how you can know what your purpose is.
Okay. And so, what kind of feedback have you got on that? Does people say that have helped them identify certain purposes in their life, or
Yeah, I've got some feedback where some people have told me from this personal, they've said that well, first they was motivated. They felt like that was it's a motivating book and motivates them to kind of get up and get out and do something, right? Kind of like an outcast song. But they seem they have had an idea of about, okay, this is where I can start at, and then
Mhm.
they can go from there. I think a lot of people don't really want to do the work, and I've learned that even though a person can tell you, hey, this is where you can start it, this is where you can do, they just literally want everything painted out for them. And so in that Know Your Purpose book, I tried to give some principles or some pointers in terms of how to navigate through finding that purpose.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I told them, I used a biblical text, Ephesians chapter 2, verse number 10, where it says, for we are his workmanship, created in God to do good works. So I told them, one of the things you can think about is that you were created to do good works. And then I talk a little bit about purpose oftentimes is, or at least your gift is that what you do the best with the least amount of effort. So, I use an example in the book about there are some people that are millionaires that they bake cookies all day, and that's what their purpose is to do that. and they found it, and they working in. I'm quite sure that they did not become millionaires the first day, but because of their purpose, they was able to really try to kind of navigate through that, and they recognize this is what I'm good at. This is what God has given me a gift to do, and then they just continue to build upon it, and that's really what I'm trying to convey in that book, Know Your Purpose.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and so you dropped a little shell and a nugget that I want to be able to deal with it a little bit. And sometimes when people look at someone, they think like, man, it looked easy for this guy. Like, oh man, he had it the easy way. He didn't really have to go through much. It probably was an easy process. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
if you can explain, like, say for example, what kind of hiccups might have you have encountered trying to say even write a book or try to be into your purpose. I won't go like on a bigger picture of purpose. Like, say, let's stick to the book. Like, what kind of hiccups you kind of encounter, like trying to write a book or become an author? Like, any kind of hiccups you had to overcome?
Yeah, man. I was I've learned this before, Howard, that you can't tell everybody what you're trying to do because they'll become discouraging of you.
Yeah.
So that was something that I had learned before I wrote that book. But as far as any hiccup I came across, I think you have something called writer's block,
Mm-hmm.
where you can, be writing and for a while, and then you kind of don't have the next thought. So that was probably something. I think also it was just the difficulty of really trying to make sure that the words are conveyed correctly. I think also that it was just being able to make sure that as you're putting out a product that is good. I was kind of doing it underneath, so I didn't really give the devil, if your listeners believe in that, an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to be able to kind of discourage me because I just was kind of moving in silence. So the
Okay.
only thing I was just got discouraged about is writer's block. Um, but I was able to navigate through that because the way you can overcome that is step away and kind of just do something different and you'll get your thoughts back. But I
Yeah.
wasn't really getting no discouragement from because I didn't really communicate to everybody. I think discouragement and things that can stop you is when you start telling the wrong people what you're doing, and it could become discouraging and it could become not supportive of you.
And so one of the things, and that's really true, because when I talk to people, I go to people that sometimes I talk to people they started businesses or they want to start a business, they write on paper, but then what they begin to do is tell people. And sometimes they have people that don't see the vision that they have.
Yeah,
They sometimes people don't can't see through the same lenses that you see, and that's some like the hurdles. Like, so what advice do you kind of give with people that kind of want to start something but kind of stagnated because they're not sure if they had a support or have that people that's going to be that backing?
yeah. What can I tell people that need support?
Yeah, that's feel like they lack support or they looking for somebody to be like, like
Yeah,
say for example, I'll give you an example. Say if I want to start say I got this podcast per se, and then I told everyone about it, but I get nobody that I told about it to watch my show. And so then now therefore become discouraged. Is
yeah,
that like what advice would you give to someone like that?
yeah. I would tell them, I think is if you feel like this is what God has called you to do, keep doing it. And don't measure success about numbers. Measure success about are you doing what you believe God has called you to do. I know sometimes we need to be gratified or we need to be justified in the moves we make in life, and we can sometimes kind of measure that based upon who's paying attention. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's almost like the thought process of the story of the starfish. All of them are on the shore, and God picks it up and throws one in the water, and somebody say, "Hey, you'll never save all of them." And the guy pick up one and throw it in the water. He said, "Well, I just saved that one." So I think if someone's getting discouraged, in regards to, hey, I'm not getting what I want, I would tell them if you feel like this is what is your calling, what you've been called to do, keep pressing at it. Sometimes it's always good to step away and look at your development plan or your business plan, because sometimes you may you may have a passionate person on your team, but they don't know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that they don't have passion. It's just they don't know what to do. So you
Mm-hmm.
may have to respectfully let them know, hey, I appreciate you on the team, but in order for this to get to the level where we can have it, I'd rather you be in a different role because you love it, but you don't know what you're doing, so you're not really helping the progress. But yeah, never give up is always a interesting cliche that I think is important, you know. And then another thing I would say is that try to find someone that's already done it,
Mm-hmm.
and then just talk to them, you know, in humbleness. Try to go into rooms where you're not the smartest, and just sit there and listen and take notes. That's going to be helpful as well to be able to go into rooms and just listen to people that may be talking way above your head, but you're learning.
But
You
you
know,
know,
and that's going to help a person out so they don't get discouraged because sometimes, you know, we have not because we don't ask. So if you ask, we sometimes can be surprised on who may say, yeah, I got somebody for that, or I can give you a number for that.
mm-hmm.
So that's my suggestion, just a few of them to someone that may just be having a difficult time.
Just have a deal. Okay, it's cool. That's cool, man. Because I've gone into it and it's kind of funny. And I think about it, I talk to my friends, I talk to you about it, I say, man, they say if you want to hire anything from a person, put it in a book or make a kind of
Yes,
listen
I
to
heard
something.
it.
And one of your gifts is writing in a book. And so I just hope that everybody pick up the
Hmm.
book, pick up a book and
Yeah, yeah,
get some information. You know.
yeah. I know. I don't. You know, everybody doesn't read, so I guess that is true. And obviously, you have as things like audio books where people may be listeners. You know, it's interesting. I'm a reader, but I'm not like an avid reader. Like
Mm-hmm.
I read a lot for study. I read a lot to kind of gain knowledge for different things, but I'm not like you know, reading. And it's interesting. This is the thing that maybe your listeners may want to think about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's somebody once said a author of a person that wrote a book never read their own book, and I didn't believe that until I wrote the book. You can write the book, but you actually never read it. You never like sit down and read the whole book because it's like you already know the story to some degree. So that's an interesting thing that a person that writes a book never reads their own book actually.
For sure. Oh, that's pretty cool. That's something that's wow. That's one of my first time hearing it. You know, hearing that you never really read the book. But one in your last book, and we're gonna get into one other thing after this is that I really like the book of like knowing your purposes because I think a lot of people struggle in that. Do you feel like that a person purpose is never really done? Is it like a life journey of a purpose, or is it just something like
Yeah,
you're
I
saying,
think.
like span of time where you feel this purpose?
Yeah, I think that a person purpose is a if I can just think about like a definition of or a thought, I think it's a continuous process. You know, it's something that a person does every day. So I don't think it's something that you do one time. It's a continuous thing
Hmm.
that a person must you know try to fulfill in order for them to be able to make the impact they want to make. I think it's important for everybody to kind of find something that they're doing in their life that goes outside of themselves. Um, because I've seen people literally, you know, they born and then they die, and then you know, okay, she was just a good lady, that's it, or he was just a good man, that's it.
Uh-huh.
They didn't really make an impact, and I think that's the word I want to use. They didn't make an impact. They didn't have no influence. They were just nice and kind, but they're not necessarily remembered for anything specifically. And so I think your purpose should be something that you are fulfilling or doing to help others
Help
to
others,
be
yeah.
able to do what they need to do. I think that's everybody's purpose to some degree.
Oh, okay, sure. Which is good, and I appreciate the nuggets that you're dropping on us. And so, a lot of people, I know, once they read one book, they read a second book, and they may be waiting for a third book from you. Are you going to be coming out with what do you have coming up? Do you have any books coming up, possibly? I don't know if you want to tell or not, or do you have any new things happening coming up?
Yeah, if I was, I'll tell, but I'm not writing any book at the moment. I think what I'm doing, I'm actually hopefully need to get back into the lab, as I mentioned about the wisdom journey, creating some type of summit, even if it's a 1 day summit, um, or a conference, if it's 1 day, just something to start. Because if you wait for everything to happen, it never will start. So that will be so that's really what I'm going to be focusing on now, is to create a foundation for that particular book. But I want to expand it past the book, like I say, into mentorship, because quiet as it is kept, a lot of young men and young ladies, if they don't really have fathers in the home, or they don't have the parent involved in their life, and sometimes that can play a part, because if they don't have the dad, maybe dad in prison, or maybe just on the street doing what he want to do, they're gonna listen to somebody. So I think it's important to create a space for people to say, "Hey, this is where you can find help at."
100%.
So
Okay.
that's why I'm focusing on now. Not another book though, even though I may have something in my spirit, but God has not pushed me to put nothing on paper yet, or on the Microsoft Word yet, or
Okay.
give to the publisher yet.
Get to the okay. And last question about your book. I just want to ask you this last question. I think this will help reach a lot of people, or bring some clarity to it too. Is, do you ever think it's too late to live in your purpose? Is it ever too late? Like, some people could say, "Man, I'm 40 years old now, man. My prime years passed," or "Man, it's too late for me, man." Do you feel like it's ever too late?
No, I don't never think it's too late. I think
Never.
it's whenever you find out what that is, you go ahead and walk in it. It's never too late to do that, and I think that should never be the excuse. And that's an interesting thing when you talk about too late. There are some people that didn't really become, like, I guess you'll say, famous,
Mhm.
or known until they was like older,
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, it's never too late to walk in your purpose once you find what that is. Once you read the book, know your purpose, and it helps you along the way. Go ahead and do what you need to do. Don't wait, because sometimes you just probably need a season of listening and learning, and then you can go ahead into it. So
Yeah.
it's never too late. Once you know what it is, go ahead and walk in it. Do what you got to do. It's going to be sometimes difficult, because everybody may not always encourage you to do that. But if you feel in your heart, your spirit, go ahead and do it. And I think God will take you the rest of the way.
Take your rest away, which is good. All right. And so, just some fun things, man, and that was good. If and I know we got some people here that's gonna be hungry, like, to see exactly what we're talking about. If where is your book still on Amazon?
Yeah. So if they want to go by the wisdom journey or know your purpose, they can go to Amazon, or they can literally go to HarrellHenton.com, and they can buy the book there. You can go. I prefer HarrellHenton.com, but if they, prefer to do the Amazon thing, they can do that as well. Uh, and so then when they see me, I can autograph it for them, or if they just want an autograph copy, you can go to HarrellHenton.com, and then you'll receive it in maybe a week from your order, and it'll be autographed with a nice message on it.
Okay, but actually, and I know your website on HarrellHenton.com. You have more than just books. You got like some apparel too, right?
Yeah, I do got some apparel. Yeah, but let me back up. Yeah, so the Wisdom Journey is on Amazon. Is on my website. You can
Yeah.
buy the Wisdom Journey in Barnes and Nobles. You can buy the Wisdom Journey in Books a Million. You can buy the Wisdom Journey from Walmart. So wherever you want to buy the book from, you can do that. It's on those platforms.
Okay. So we got Barnes and Nobles, got
Walmart,
Books A Million, Walmart.
Walmart online. Yeah, Walmart
Walmart.
online.
Okay.
Barnes and Nobles online. Books a Million online. HarrellHenton.com. Amazon. Yeah.
Okay. That's dope, man. That's dope, man. And I think people are gonna be look out for a few people possibly maybe get your book or some merch. Or I actually got to get another wristband from you, man. My black one, it kind of wore off. I got to get a new one. I got a little thing where I never really
Okay.
take it off, and I just recently took it
Yeah.
off.
I
So I
got
got
you.
to
I
get
got you. I
a new one.
got you.
I don't really
Yeah,
take
I
it off
got you.
when I broke, but this one kind of getting a little real thin. 'Cause I went in the shower. I always had it, so I got to get rid
Okay. Yeah, I'll make sure I get it to you soon.
Yeah, we got that. But lastly, just to start on a little fun note, and we talked a little bit about your teams. We talked a little bit about NBA and the NFL.
Yeah.
But I was just looking in terms of like we're going into the next season. We're going into next year. And one of the trades I know going to be happening with your say San Francisco 49ers, Debo Samuel's going to lead the team. You guys going to have a new quarterback, Trey Lance. You got a few things that's going to be changing over there, man. Do you have any expectations or I mean, you can talk from your fandom and think you're going to win the Super Bowl, but I mean, if you
I think that we always have a good chance. I think we have a great coaching staff from what I've seen. And, for Debo Samuel, he plays a very key role. But I can understand his approach because from what I'm reading and hearing, we use him a lot to run the ball. And he's really a wide receiver. And so when it comes to him getting paid, is he gonna get paid as a wide receiver or as a running back? So that's always the challenge in that regard. So he want to make sure he's healthy first before he just start doing all kind of stuff.
Yeah, I can actually foresee, and this kind of happening, and actually in basketball. I was thinking about the Debo Samuel thing, and thinking about a lot of times in say football. I think it's almost going to become positionless, except like maybe you're going to be a lineman, but you could be a right tackle or left tackle. You could be a guard or a center, or because even like when I think about a couple quarterbacks, they find themselves out at wide receiver. Like they doing multiple positions nowadays. Someone's become, hey, I'm a quarterback and wide receiver. You know how when you was an Optimus, you're like, I play quarterback and I play safety on the other side.
Yep,
So kind of becoming that. Do you see that a little bit too?
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, they have him in positionless football and all kind of stuff. Yeah, it becomes
The running back go to be the slot receiver. Then you got a receiver.
Yeah, I saw something the other day say that some guy, I forgot, he'll be play running back now. I want to say it's Melvin Gordon from the Chargers or something, but I think he was saying he thinks in the next few years the running back position is going to be non-existent. So I don't know. I got to take a look more in that article he spoke about, see why he said that. But I just saw the headlines.
Looking at that, it's actually kind of like when you think about it, your running back go out to receiver, be at the X and the Y. Then you like, you might get your quarterback on a trick play, get the punt at the under there. You be like, man, what's going on with this?
Yeah, because we got the running back for the Tennessee Titans. He's pretty straightforward. I forgot his name.
Henry.
Right off the top of my head.
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry. Yeah, he's pretty.
He got off the injury, so I got to see what he's gonna do when they come back.
He may be last of a dying breed. I'm not sure, but
he's And so I got the NBA. So what about NFL? So NBA team, you got anything for the Celtics or for the Celtics? You think anything? Any hopes? Anything?
Yeah. So for the Celtics, I don't know. It's going to be difficult. I think we just got experience, but it was really heartbreaking, man. I thought we was going to take it. It was unfortunate I had my shirt on and everything.
Yeah.
So it was a challenging thing.
I know you got. Hey, matter of fact, if I remember this correct, don't you got like a Super Bowl ring? What's the Super Bowl ring that you got? Is that from the 49ers?
The Super Bowl ring?
Yeah, the ring that you keep on time. Oh, okay. It's the 49ers on. Okay, I couldn't remember was the basketball or the football. Yeah, it's the 49ers from when they won. Okay, for sure.
Yeah, I got a 49ers Super Bowl ring. I wear it sometimes.
Yeah.
Then I got a New Orleans Saints Super Bowl ring I had bought as well from somebody.
I knew it. Okay, for sure.
But I don't really wear that because it don't really fit.
Okay. Well, what I want to do, man, I really want to sum this up. I really just thank you for being on with me, man. You actually this is actually one of my favorite interviews I ever did, man.
Oh wow! Oh,
because we sit around, like honestly, we sit around, we talk, but we never like got a chance to sit down like on the interview spectrum, just ask, we know I'm just being a family kind of gathering, just hanging out, telling jokes, stuff like that. But to sit down and like pick your brain about a few things, which is cool to be able to sit down with you, man, and talk to you.
Well, I appreciate that. We try to be here for you, try to make sure we can stand the gap. Every time I turn around, there's something else I got to do. So I'm glad I was able to take time to do this. This has been a pleasure as well.
Yep, same here, man. So I don't want to take up all your night, but if you want to, just last thing here, if you want to be found or reach, where do you want the most people to find you? Is it like a Facebook, or you want to just go to harrellhenton.com, or?
Yeah, so you can go to harrellhenton.com. Have my phone number there. You can send me a message. You can also donate if you just want to bless the ministry that we're trying to do on this side. It's a donate page. I have a Facebook page, Harrell Henton. Also Instagram, Harrell Henton. Post some things on there sometimes. So those are the ways you can contact me if you need to.
Okay, absolutely. And so that sums it up for us, man. And I really appreciate you being on. It's just an opportunity to be able to sit down with my big brother, my brother from the same mother and the same dad. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
you to death, man. Thank you for being on, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Well, okay. Y'all have a good night, everybody.
Absolutely.